You spend enough time with the dead, you start to understand the silence they leave behind. But silence isn't peace. Sometimes it's pressure, weight. Echoes that don't fade, they wait. I've dug graves for murderers, saints, children, monsters. And in time you learn which ones are which. Not from the obituaries, from the dirt. There's a heaviness to evil, like the ground resists letting go. And once, just once, I felt that resistance turn into refusal. That was the Grant job. Though even saying his name still makes my skin itch. Been doing this line of work close to 2 decades now. I've buried infants light as air, and men who took 4 of us to lift. I've watched mourners claw at caskets and others walk away like they were late for lunch. But only once did I see the earth itself try to keep someone down. That job still clings to me like mildew in my lungs. It was autumn, the kind that starts beautiful and ends in rot. Trees barely holding their gold, wind sharp enough to cut. I was assigned to Mill Ridge Cemetery, Northern Quadrant. Old section. Real old. You can feel it when you step in. Like walking into a room someone just left, but forgot to take their presence with them. Graves dated back to the 1800s. Stones leaning like tired sentinels. A place heavy with memory. Even the air tastes forgotten. Around 10:30 the call came from the office. Exhumation order for a man named Ronan Ellison Grant. Plot B12. Simple paperwork. Supposedly the daughter wanted the remains moved to a family crypt in a newer cemetery out east. But then came the note. Casket secured with iron bindings. Proceed with extreme caution. Family has acknowledged and approved containment measures. Now, I've seen chains before. Once. A Civil War deserter, supposedly buried under local superstition. They said he walked for 3 nights after being declared dead. But this was different. Grant died in 1998. Not the 1800s. Not folklore. But somehow it felt worse. I arrived on site around noon. Clarissa Grant was already there. Late 40s, maybe. Standing too still. Not grief still. More like bracing for something. She wouldn't meet my eyes, just stared at the plot, like she was trying to will it shut. I asked if there was anything we needed to know. She said flat and low, "He doesn't like to be moved. He gets angry." I waited for a follow-up. There wasn't one. My partner gave me a sideways glance, but we started digging. Standard equipment, mini excavator, vault pry tools, bolt cutters. The ground felt wrong, thick, not muddy, just resistant. Took longer than usual. Every scoop sounded muffled, like the earth was swallowing the noise. Eventually we reached the vault. No cracks, no leaks. But frost lined the edges. Strange for that time of year. We pried open the lid, and there it was. A casket like I've never seen. Cast iron. Blackened, flaking in places. 6 handles bound tight with wrought iron chain, looped 3 ways across the top, around the body. Every lock was different. Some modern, some antique. All rusted like they'd been submerged. And each one was engraved with a symbol. Crosses, runes, crescent moons. Protective glyphs from religions I didn't even recognize. Tommy whispered, "What the hell were they keeping in there?" I radioed the office. Confirmed. Everything. Clarissa never left her spot. Never flinched. I asked her again, "Ma'am, are you sure you want us to open this?" She finally looked at me. And there was something in her eyes I'll never forget. Like she'd already seen what would happen, and accepted it. "Don't open it. Just move it. Somewhere dark. Somewhere quiet. And don't let the light touch him." We didn't argue. Started cutting the chains. One by one. Every lock made the same sound when it hit the ground. Dull. Flat. Like it didn't belong to this world. But curiosity, it gets you. When we got the casket up, I waited until no one was watching. And flipped the lid. I wish I hadn't. Ronan Grant was intact. Too intact. The embalming was perfect, but the face wasn't. His lips were drawn back, not in decay, in defiance. His eyes sewn shut, but wrong. Too shallow. Like someone did it after death, but before peace. Across his chest were 7 crucifixes, different sizes, different materials. Around his neck, a noose of thorny vines, dried but still pungent. Beneath his tongue was a flat, black stone, carved with tiny symbols, Celtic, maybe. His hands were crossed and bound with wire, not string. Each finger had been clipped, the tips, not recent. He wore a rosary as a belt, but the beads were cracked like they'd burst from pressure, and the smell, sage, myrrh, clove, and something beneath that, like burnt bone and wet pennies. Then came the whisper. Not loud, not outside, inside, like the sound of your own thought turning on you. You shouldn't have looked. I slammed the lid shut. I bolted it. I didn't speak, didn't breathe right for a long while. Clarissa finally broke her silence. He used to say, if death ever took him, he'd drag it back with him. Said he made a trade once. Something old. Something that gave him years in exchange for doors. My mother said he changed after he came back from the war, but I think he was always this way. Just learned how to hide it better. She said she was 9 the first time she saw him talking to the mirror, not his reflection. To it, her brother vanished in 87. No leads, no note, just gone. Ronan claimed he ran away. Clarissa believed he was in the walls, still does. She said he'd promised, from his hospital bed, you'll never be rid of me. Blood remembers. We moved the casket to the new crypt. Reinforced. No ceremony. No priest. She sealed the nameplate with black wax herself, left a key with the caretaker, and told him never to open it, no matter the screams. Now and then, I still check on it. Once or twice, I swear I heard something, like a sigh, or laughter, or a knock. But the worst part, sometimes I dream of that stone, the one under his tongue. I don't know what it means, but in my dreams it pulses. And every time I wake up, I feel something has moved. Not in the house, in me. You work this job long enough, you learn some graves aren't meant to be dug. Some silence isn't absence, it's containment. And some people, they don't die, they wait. Hey friends, thanks for tuning in. A huge shout out to our amazing subscribers. You're the reason these chilling tales keep coming to life. If you're enjoying the spine-tingling stories, consider hitting that subscribe button. It only takes a second, but it means the world to us. While you're at it, don't forget to like and share to keep the chills spreading. We appreciate you more than you know. See you in the next one if you dare. They never tell you what silence really sounds like until you've stood over a grave that never wanted to be opened. In this line of work, we dig up grief like it's just another job site, another contract, but sometimes the soil gives back more than bones. Sometimes it remembers, sometimes it watches you back. You spend enough years doing exhumations, and you start to catalog the small rituals people cling to in death. Lockets, toy animals, handwritten letters, smudged by time. I found a violin bow with no violin, a single glove from a wedding that never happened, even a child's drawing sealed under wax paper. You get used to the sentimental, you don't get used to wrong. This one started like any other. We were hired to recover and relocate the remains of a child, buried in 1968. Clara Ellen Reed, 8 years old. Death certificate read, pneumonia. No red flags. The last living relative, her older sister Meredith, wanted her moved to a cemetery closer to where she now lived in Ashland, Oregon. That was it. The grave was tucked into the backmost section of an old municipal cemetery. Not many visitors made it that far. The soil was soft, layered with decades of moss and silence. We flagged the area, ran our checks, and began the dig. The casket was a child-sized bronze box, standard for the time. Weathered, sealed tight, no evidence of prior tampering, but the moment we uncovered it, the crew went quiet. I've been around long enough to recognize a hush not caused by reverence, but by unease, the kind that rises when something isn't quite right, even if you can't say why. We opened it. What we found inside has haunted every dig since. Clara's remains were mostly intact. Skeletal, her tiny hands were folded neatly across her chest. Her shoes, surprisingly well preserved, were still on, but something rested squarely over where her face would have been. A mask. Porcelain. Impossibly white. The eyes painted a faded shade of forget-me-not blue, mouth delicately parted as if caught mid-whisper. It was detailed, fragile, antique, and wrong. Not a child's toy, not a mourning piece. Something older. Something expectant. We froze. Documented. Bagged. You follow protocol when things don't make sense. The funeral director on site looked paler than I'd ever seen her. She double-checked Clara's original burial inventory. 1 rosary, a cotton dress, pink shoes, a letter from her mother, no mention of a mask. We contacted the sister. When Meredith answered, her voice cracked before we even asked the question. She didn't recognize the mask, said Clara hated masks, cried at Halloween, screamed. If someone wore one near her, their parents would never have buried her with something like that. Meredith made us promise not to rebury it with her. She called back the next day. She'd been going through old family photo albums, said she found a picture she didn't remember ever seeing. Clara, maybe 5 years old, sitting on the edge of her bed, her face twisted in terror, and on the wall behind her, in the grainy shadow, hung a porcelain mask. Same shape, same eyes. No one knew where the photo had come from. We sent the mask for analysis. Late 1800s, hand-molded, European origin. No maker's mark, no trace of decomposition inside. It had not touched flesh. It had not degraded. It was perfect, like it had just been placed there, or like it had never left. Weeks passed. The reinterment went on without issue. The mask, per the family's request, was placed into evidence storage. Or, that was the plan. 2 weeks later, the storage unit was found empty. The camera outside had gone dark for 3 hours that night. The only footage left showed the door opening, though no one was seen entering. There was only one sound on the audio track. Porcelain scraping over concrete. I've tried to move on, but I can't, because it followed me. 3 nights ago, I woke up gasping, heart pounding, the kind of panic that doesn't come from dreams. My bedroom was freezing, every window locked, but I swear, I could hear tiny footsteps just past the door, like someone small, barefoot, circling my bed. I turned on the lamp. Nothing. Except on my nightstand, where I keep a photo of my daughter. Someone had turned it around. The next morning, I found fine white dust in a trail from the doorway to my closet, and faint, powdery impressions on the floor. The exact shape of a small, bare foot. I don't sleep now. I don't dig anymore. And I haven't touched porcelain since. Let me tell you something no manual will. You think the dead rest. You think closure is real. You think graves are endpoints. But some things bury themselves deep. So deep that they rot the memory of the world around them. Clara Reed died in 1968. But something else was buried that day, and it still isn't done watching. Hey friends, thanks for tuning in. A huge shout out to our amazing subscribers. You're the reason these chilling tales keep coming to life. If you're enjoying the spine-tingling stories, consider hitting that subscribe button. It only takes a second, but it means the world to us. While you're at it, don't forget to like and share to keep the chills spreading. We appreciate you more than you know. See you in the next one if you dare. You learn things from the dirt. Secrets. Not because it speaks, because it remembers. Clay and stone, sand and silt. They hold on to what was buried, even when time forgets. Some graves give up their dead easy. Others, you have to ask permission. And then there's the kind that never wanted to be opened at all. It started as routine. County-ordered exhumation, family dispute, probate nonsense. I've done hundreds of them. It was a hot, still Monday when we got the call. They gave us the name Evelyn Glass, died 1971, buried in Section H, Lot 44, pressed against the east retaining wall. I knew the spot. Everyone in the crew did. We avoided it when we could. See, Section H has always been off. The soil stays damp, no matter the season, even in drought. The grass grows too fast there. But more than that, it's the silence. Birds don't land in that section. Sound doesn't carry right. You can be 10 feet away and not hear someone call your name. Still, work is work. Me and Ray brought out the jackhammer and spades. I checked my watch, 8:17 a.m., just after the dew burned off. We started cutting into the top layer. That's when the sound began. It wasn't feedback or echo. It was a resonance, like the hum you feel in your teeth when you stand too close to high-voltage wire. At first I thought it was mechanical. Ray thought it might be a gas line, something buried. But it didn't fade. It changed, shifted pitch, with every pulse of the jackhammer. After the third burst I looked at Ray. He had stopped drilling and was staring into the dirt like he'd seen something move. "Did you hear that?" he asked. I did, but I said no. We went manual. Safer, slower. 2 feet down, the soil gave way to fill. That's when we hit the letters. Folded pages in sealed plastic, buried like offerings. Some were dated as recent as last year. Each one addressed Evelyn. Each one different handwriting. They weren't condolences. They were confessions. We stopped digging for a minute. Just stood there. No wind. No birds. Not even traffic from the road behind the hill. Like something had closed a door over the sky. Ray wanted to leave. Said we should call it in. Report a disturbance. Maybe even a crime scene. I told him we finished the dig first. We went another foot and found bone. Not Evelyn's. Animal. Dozens of them. Stripped clean. Arranged in patterns I didn't understand. Circles. Spirals. One shape that looked like an eye. Ray started muttering to himself. Not in words, just sounds. Low syllables under his breath. I thought he was praying. I realized after a while it wasn't his voice. We reached the coffin around noon. Simple steel casket. Factory issued. It should have been sealed tight. But the edges were rusted through and lined with salt crystals, melted into the metal like they'd been poured in molten. I leaned down and brushed the top clean, and that's when I saw the etchings. It went from the outside. They were scraped from within, just shallow enough to miss, unless you knew to look. Dozens of lines, looping, overlapping, scratched like fingernails. Some were words, "Don't unlock me." Still inside, I dreamed my way out. Then there were the drawings. Faces, twisted, watching. Some with mouths sewn shut. Some with their eyes scratched out. Ray walked away. He was shaking. I heard him crying, trying not to. I didn't stop him. I stayed. I pressed my hand against the lid, and the metal was warm. That's when the whispering returned. Not from the ground this time. From the air itself. All around me. A chorus of mouths, not speaking, but breathing. I couldn't make out words, but I felt the shapes of them crawling behind my ears. I radioed the funeral director. He said they'd be there soon. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My tongue felt wrong in my mouth. Thick, like I'd forgotten how to use it. Then, beneath the edge of the casket, something moved. Just a twitch, like a shift in pressure, a sigh escaping the soil. The moment passed. Ray came back. He looked pale, older somehow. Neither of us spoke. The transport team arrived late. We winched the coffin up. As soon as it cleared the hole, the whispering stopped. Not faded. Stopped. Like someone hit a switch. The ground felt cold. We filled the grave back in and left without a word. They took Evelyn's body to another state. Her niece, I think. 2 weeks later, the same plot was reassigned. I didn't ask why, just dug it myself. Wire dirt. Dry, still, unremarkable. But I kept the letters. I shouldn't have. I know that now. Because some nights, around 3 a.m., I wake up to the sound of dirt moving. Not outside. Underneath me, and I know this much. The thing we dug up wasn't Evelyn. It wore her name, but it had never been buried. It had been kept. The dead don't rest in places like Section H. Not because of curses or ghosts, because sometimes what's buried isn't dead, just forgotten, or worse, remembering. And now, so am I. Thank you all for being a part of these journeys with me. Your continued support truly means the world, and I absolutely enjoy reading your comments, especially when you share your own experiences and reactions. If these tales had you holding your breath or sent a chill down your spine, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe for more eerie and unsettling stories. Have you ever gone through something similar? Or do you have your own mysterious encounter to share? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to read it. Every story you share helps deepen the connection in our growing community of horror lovers. There's more to come, so stay close for more chilling tales. And remember, the most terrifying stories are often the ones that feel a little too real. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.